Alrighty, so this is the 10th day that we are doing this now, and this is the 10th piece of advice that I'll give to my childhood self. And the 10th piece of advice is, I'm a bit torn what to talk about, if I'm being truly honest. And I really want to start talking a bit about relationships, because so much of life is about relationships. But I think before I can really talk about our relationships with other people, I think it's really important to acknowledge that the most important relationship you will ever have is the one you have with yourself. And I think there's this really big fad on self-love at the moment, and I think it's like, you know, love yourself, be yourself, like, know who you are. And I think that's great, but I think minus all the hype, it's just so true. I think someone put it in perspective that the other day, like talking about how, you know how they say you are the equivalent, or you're the average, there we go. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And I think people forget that you are the person you spend the most time with. And it's so easy just to be looking outside of yourself and being like, oh, this person is my 1, and this is my 2, and this is my 3, and this is my 4, and this is my 5. It's like, oh wait, but when all those people go away, I'm left, I'm here, I'm stuck with me. And it can actually be a really harsh awakening if you discover, as I did, I kind of got to 25 years of life and realized I didn't like myself. I had constructed this life around trying to be different, trying to change who I was to meet someone else's expectation or someone else's reality of who I should be, instead of like really just saying like, this is it, this is who I am. There's some weird things happening. I have this thing where the boards don't come out right sometimes. I have these weird interests that are a bit different to everyone else's. I occasionally sit in my back garden recording videos of myself. And I see the world a little bit differently to others. I have all my quirks, and I spend a lot of my life disliking them or apologizing for them or trying to discount them because they weren't as important or they weren't as big as other people's good things. Like, my good things weren't half as good as other people's good things. And so I think it's been a really big journey this last year or 2 years to really figure out who I was at my core, not who people told me to be, not who people expected me to be, but who I was at my like deep core center. And then beyond that, what I wanted to be. And then with all that knowledge in my sight, to be like, now I gotta learn to love that. All of it, the good and the bad. It's all a package. It always comes together. The good parts of myself that I seem to enjoy. And then there's the bits that aren't so flattering or pretty. And I have to learn to love those parts too. And I think so, this idea of self-love, it sounds so corny, but it's just the most true piece of advice I could give anyone, is just to love yourself. And I think a lot of people really get down on this whole self-love thing because there's a confusion between self-love and selfish. And selfish means love of yourself, or narcissism. So love of yourself with disregard of other people. And I think with some respects, like, loving yourself means disregarding other people's opinions, as we've talked about. And I think there is a level of that is healthy, where you love on yourself even when others don't. But of course, loving yourself doesn't always have to mean selfish. And then sometimes selfish isn't bad. There is a fine line, and I don't know if I can fully go into the complete definition between the two, but in this little video, but there is a difference, and I don't think they are the same thing. Basically, is what I'm getting at. Like, you can be selfish but not love yourself. I've known those people for sure. And you can love yourself but be selfless. You can love yourself so fully that you are so easily able to give, because you know who you are, you know what you want, you know what you need, so that you fill your own cup. And actually, I would hesitate to say that when you have self-love, true self-love, you have the capacity to give more, because your cup is full on its own terms. You don't need anything from anyone else. And so your cup is so full that you can give more to those who do need it. And so I would actually hesitate to say that people who are truly self-loving, like genuine self-love, have more to give, and who potentially could be more selfless. Anyway, so I think that is... Oh, hello. Still on video. We'll edit this out. Where was I? Self-love, love. So yeah, I think that when you do have your own cup full, and you do have your own needs addressed, and just loving all that you are. And as well, I think it can come down to, if you're not rejecting of yourself, you're not going to be rejecting of others' quirks and their own idiosyncrasies. Because it's so true that people, when they judge you, this could be a whole nother video, but when they're judging you, they're really just judging a part of themselves. That was one of the most powerful pieces of advice I've been given in the last couple of years, was that anything that triggers in you is something really, that is triggering you for someone else, is something in them that you're seeing in yourself, or something that is triggering for yourself that you're seeing in another person is something in yourself that still bothers you, or that you haven't learned to accept or to fully love. And so the benefits of this is just so tenfold. Of like, if you love yourself and you're accepting of yourself, you're able to better love on yourself and accept all your own quirks. But then you're actually more better equipped to show up for other people, and to accept and love on their parts of themselves, and give them permission to love on those parts of themselves. And I just think, in a world of where self-hatred is the norm, loving yourself and enjoying your own company, and just respecting who you are, is just one of the most powerful things you could do. I think we, as a society, I had a realization earlier this year that the words that I was using in my head to talk to myself, like the way that I was talking to myself in my own head, was probably what would be considered abuse if I said it aloud. If I was to say the things that I said to myself to another human being, it would be considered abuse. And I think a lot of us walk around with this internal dialogue of, you're not smart enough, you're not pretty enough, you're stupid, you're like, why would you say that? God, only stupid people say that. Or can you tell what my thing is? You're whatever, I don't know, you kill plants, you're a plant killer. These are things that go on in my head. I'm not sure how to keep a plant alive, even if it's an evergreen and it can't die. It somehow happens. Anyway, so there's this thing that there's this dialogue that goes on in our heads, and we have these things that we make mean something about us. But if instead I was like, you know what, I need to build better habits around watering plants, or researching what exactly the plant that I have needs. Does it need water? Does it not? I don't know. Maybe I should look that up. Or I forget things a lot. That's just something that I have as part of my daily reality. Not that I'm saying that that's going to be my only reality forever. acknowledge it, and I acknowledge that as a thing that I deal with, and so I do my best to maybe compensate for that part of myself, and I will have to write down names for the first little while when I'm meeting someone, and when I was ski instructing, I would have a note thingy in my pocket, and as soon as I met people, I'd write everyone's names down, and I would say, I'm gonna write your name down, and I would just do it in front of them, because it was something that I was like, I am not gonna come across as rude because I've forgotten their name if I'm not even gonna make the effort to try and remember them. If my brain is not gonna withhold the information by itself, I'm gonna use some help. And so in doing these kinds of practices, and obviously still improving upon them, I've also still learned to love them as they are, and just know that those things are part of me, and even though I might work at them my whole life, they may never still get really good. I can't do math, as I think we've discovered in these videos. Can't do math, can't do counting, always use my fingers. And I used to get really embarrassed about it. I get so caught up in this, why didn't I learn my times tables? Why can't I just do math in my head like this? And I probably could sit down and dedicate my life to learning times tables and being quick at math. But the reality is that doesn't excite me. That doesn't seem like the most exciting use of my time. I have other things that excite me more, and I have a calculator to calculate things, and if I really needed it, I would pay someone to do extensive figures for me, because that is not my expertise. It is not what brings me joy. But there are people out there who do have expertise in that, and to whom it brings joy. So I think learning to accept the parts of ourselves that aren't so favorable, and to love on the parts that we don't love, and also to celebrate the parts of ourselves that we do think are great. I think a lot of people in this day and age have this tendency to, just like talk it down, like, oh, I'm a good snowboarder or a skier or a biker or a XYZ, but I'm not that good. But it's like, if you think that's a skill that you've cultivated, and yeah, you might not be a pro athlete, but you do it and you love it, and you've cultivated that practice, and you're not going to go out there being arrogant and being like, I'm the best, but you can still love on what you have cultivated, and you're like, yeah, I'm pretty good. Like, I've been doing it for this long, and I can get down X, Y, and Z. It's just celebrating what you do have also as part of that self-love practice. I think in terms of kids, I think it's obvious, just getting them to celebrate, obviously a conversation between the differences between selfish and self-love, knowing that there is a difference, and that idea of like filling your own cup to give more to others, I think would be a really cool analogy to share. And then in terms of just monitoring that inner dialogue, because the dialogue that you as an adult are presenting to them is modeling a dialogue that they are going to present to themselves later in life. And then also the dialogue that you model for yourself is also what they use, or even the words that you use to describe them can be the words that they use for themselves later in life. So like, for no fault, like my dad would always say as a joke, like, oh, you're so stupid, like as in like funny, stupid funny. But the word stupid stuck in my head, and I couldn't get it out. And for my whole life, I've had to, and obviously I wasn't super school smart, and that's the only reason why it triggered me. If I was super textbook smart, then maybe it wouldn't have ever landed on me. But it was a reality that I faced in school, and people did judge me and say whatever because of my smartness. That's a word. No. Because I wasn't particularly book smart, and in school that was something that triggered. Anyway, so that was a word that stuck with me, and so now that is part of my inner dialogue that I've had to rewrite. And yeah, just getting them to cultivate a practice of celebrating their wins, celebrating their successes, loving on the parts of themselves that are good, and acknowledging those parts of themselves And also equally to learning to love the parts of themselves that are quirky and weird and exceptional and even ordinary, even those parts that maybe aren't deserving of prizes and get participation awards. They're still things that deserve love. So yeah, I think that is it for video number 10. So I am gonna peace out. So have an amazing day, and I'll speak to you tomorrow. Okay.